Hello. Hi, 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 hi. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi Alex, how are
Hi, Sana.
you?
How are you? How
I'm
are
good.
you?
How are
How are
you?
you? Yeah, good to see you again.
Good to see you. Yeah. So we
Um,
just start in like 10 minutes.
okay, yeah, fine. Everything is ready on my side. Um, I don't have any further questions. Just wanted to know have an idea what is going to be the success of these webinar. Well, 50
Yeah.
people is all right. Not
Yeah.
many.
So I don't have exact number of the registrations, but we'll share details with you later after the webinar, right?
Okay.
So we'll get
Can I, can
detailed
I,
report.
just a question. Can I, what we can say, or you will say probably, is that after this webinar, we may have a course or to dive into the CBAM
Yeah.
deeply.
So that's
Yeah,
that's the idea.
that's the
We are
idea.
taking, yeah, we are collecting polls. The first one is to
Hmm.
see where the companies are. And the last poll is
Okay.
going to be, you know, just see what the interest of the people are, if they would like to get on a detailed conversation, because CBAM is here, you know that. So
Okay.
mainly, yes,
I said that
mainly the
so far,
exporting companies are
uh,
affected.
so far, I've been working with agents within the European Union for this mechanism.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
but never worked with. Well, obviously, these people what they had the problem they had is that the is a very complex mechanism, and the action has to be taken outside the European Union. So probably the people who are going to listen to this webinar. Uh, but I've never worked with them. I have a key message is that the European Union assigns a certain amount of tons of CO2 with all the tons of importing products, and the price that they're going to pay for that is proportionally connected to the emission factor, something which is called the emission factor. How many tons of CO2 um, in your country are being emitted to the atmosphere when manufacturing a ton of your product.
Yeah.
So that calculation is complex, but if you don't do it, you can do it tailor made for you, or you can do it using default values of the European Union, which is not convenient at all
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it probably double or triples the emissions that you are going to you are in fact emitting, and so and
Yeah.
you'll have to pay for that. So and the price is not cheap, definitely.
Yeah.
So
So
that's probably the key message.
the problems that I see, Alex, first one is that the companies need to understand that they need to, identify what is their emission at the very
And
moment, right? Yes,
calculate the emissions
calculate it,
of
calculate
their
it,
products.
have their calculations reports ready,
Mm.
and because I don't know how it is working, you might have a much better idea. So what I understand is that the companies can at any time ask, the important companies can at any time ask for certain audited detailed reports, and they have to get a certificate in some cases, right?
To get that
License.
report certified, you have
Yeah.
to call an external agent, probably an SGS guy or a Bureau Veritas or ANOR. Those are designated operating companies. Have to call them, bring them to your factory, and they will validate all the calculations you have done. And that
And the
has a
agents could
cost
be
at the
from
beginning of the beginning of a system. The first time is quite costly because you have to bring this guy from Europe, have to pay them trips and it's the hotel and all the things. And it will probably stay in your facilities for a couple of days, 3 days, just to validate what you say that you are emitting when producing your product.
So Alex, if I have an automated system that is certified, that does the calculation, that does the reporting for me, even then I need to get that agent
Validate,
to
yeah.
my to validate.
It's called
Okay. But then
verification
it's going to be not
project.
very much costly because you have a system that has already been validated.
Well,
For
if you have
example,
done already, that's
yeah.
fine. That's fine. But believe me, there are many people who has no idea of what is their carbon footprint. No
Yeah, yeah,
idea
yeah.
whatsoever.
I agree. I agree.
So they have to
They
start
would.
right from scratch.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. So,
Mm.
so I've already spoken to you about the system that we have built. Our team that have worked on the system. So we've built a system where the companies don't have to actually worry about hiring a consultant to get their things sorted out. It does it already. It can integrate with their ERP, or they can do it manually if they don't have that
Yeah,
capability
yeah,
in their existing ERP. They can manually
yeah.
add the information, but the information does everything else. It calculates, it reports, it provides you with a strategy. And if the
Mm.
agent, in case of the European company, if the agent, what the agent will have to do, it will have to validate with the system. The system is either already validated, has certain certification, or they can just see how the system works. They can, get the verifiable report, auditable reports from the system. So, I mean, the things could be simplified for them. So that's the main idea. And
Yeah.
I completely agree with you that not many people know about it, and people are,
Not many, not many.
ultimately, they will have to do it. Yeah,
Mm, mm. Oh,
for the
we will
exporting
teach
market.
them. We will teach them. Even we can review because there's a number of calculators or automatic calculators, you call them,
Yeah,
in the market, and just how to choose the right one, how's the most convenient for each. So it's a sort of tailor consultancy for each company if you want.
yeah,
I'm not going to mention that because I understand that that's making advertising of myself, but I definitely can do it. So if anyone in the questions and answer they ask me if I can help on that, what shall I say?
yeah. You can just if anybody asks you, you can say that contact us. We'll just divert it to you.
Okay,
The second thing is
via
that
Edwatch.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Okay,
second thing that I wanted to mention, Alex, is that we have an event coming up in Saudi, in Riyadh, and I'll see if we can get you on board for that as well. So have spoken to you about
okay,
our platform. That's a separate brand that we are operating through. I'll share more details with you about that, and we'll see how we can engage you on that as
okay. I'm sure that you are going to have a lot of opportunity with this course, with this webinar
well.
today,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
CBAM, because we are in the middle of the storm. And the storm started in January 26th this year. So we are in the middle. Right? That they have to just to put the batteries on and start working because in August 27 they will have to pay. Well, not
yes,
they won't have to pay. The agent
yeah.
importing in the European Union will have to pay for those certificates, CBAM certificates.
Yeah,
So it's
and I reckon that the penalties will also start. I mean, the implementation is here from January 2026, but you will have a financial implication going forward from September 2027.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And I mean, if you are not doing it, if you're not spending on a strategic initiative, not spending on the platform or the system that could make it simple, that could simplify it for you, you will have to ultimately pay the bigger price. Your products are
Oh
going to
yeah,
be more
definitely.
costly, or they're not going to be
Even
invited.
Sana, you could be out of the market because there are other people who are saying an agent in the European Union will say, "What is your price? First of all, what is your price of a ton of steel?" And they say 100. Okay, I have, and give me your carbon footprint. No, I have no carbon footprint. Okay, nearby there's a competitor who says, okay, my ton is 110, but I do have So I will have to buy for this or from these guys and not from the other one. So
Yeah.
they have to do it if they want to be in the market and continue exporting to the European Union.
Yeah. I mean, there's a risk for businesses. There's a risk of losing the market, actually. So
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
yeah.
Can I have a test of my sharing my screen?
Yeah, sure. I think we've already started the recording, and that was a very, uh, you know,
Well,
very
you can cut.
informative
You can
discussion we
always
had.
cut this initiation.
No,
But
that's I think that was a very yeah, that was very informative. I mean, whoever would like to see that. So
okay.
yeah, yeah.
can you see
I can
the
see your screen.
presentation? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
your presentation.
Okay. Fine. Fantastic. Okay. So we'll leave this in here.
Yeah.
We'll
Just for the
no, the
attendees and
beginning. I'm
everyone.
just gonna stop sharing
Yeah.
the screen and stop this configuration. Quitar. Okay. No. How can I stop sharing? There must be some mi pantalla. No. Seminario web. Ah, aquí, solo contenido como
Uh,
How can I,
yeah.
documentos avanzados, mantener presionado control? No, diseño del
You want to
presentador.
stop sharing? Is that
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Uh, I can replace current
But
share, and then you can. I can start
parameter.
my.
Okay,
I
okay,
can
and then
start.
give me permission again. Okay,
That's
fantastic.
completely fine. Okay. So I think we should formally start the conversation now.
Okay,
We already have some participants, and for those of you who would not be able to join us today or who are not able to take the entire session, um, you will have an access to a recording on our YouTube channel, and I think it will also be shared with you over email. So this is one of the initiatives of EdWatch. We are a capability building platform that works with businesses on transformation, particularly digital transformation sustainability. So this is one of this series of webinars, and this one is on CBAM. So CBAM is I think for in exporting businesses has become a buzzword. We wanted to understand from our expert Alejandro, who is from Europe and who is an expert in sustainability. He's been working with EdWatch for some time, and so we wanted to understand from him what exactly CBAM means for businesses and especially exporters, businesses who have collaborations with European companies. What are the implications, what we should be doing? We would like to understand from you, we would like your input in knowing whether you are already ready, what stage of CBAM implementation you are, or you would like to learn more from us. So before we started the webinar, me and Alex were having this discussion on what could be the implications, what we see happening, and as he said that it seems like it looks like a chaos at the moment, and it's happening so rapidly that in January 2026 it became, I mean, operational, or I would say it has been implemented, and from 2027 onwards there's going to be financial implications, right? You have to get a certification of your carbon emissions, and if you don't, you will be penalized for it. So, starting our today's discussion, I'm Sana Kadri, representing EdWatch, and then we have Alejandro Lopez Cortijo, and as I call him, Alex. He is an expert. I've already mentioned a bit about him. I'd like him to just briefly introduce himself to you. Then what is the objective of today's webinar? I've quickly touched upon the objectives. I will just say it out loud a bit. It is demystifying CBAM mechanics, identifying affected sectors, clarify reporting obligations, analyze impact on global supply chains, navigate policy intersection. So he's going to be, it's a 30, 45 minutes webinar. So if you would like to deep dive into it, you can reach out to us. We'll see how we can support you in your journey. So before we start, before I ask Alex to start the presentation, if I can have a poll here. Bakar, could you please share the poll? Okay. So I hope that you all have polls on your screen. If you like, you can get a QR code for it, access it to a QR code. Okay, so we'll just give a quick 1 minute poll round, and we'll just see what it looks like. I'd appreciate if you are already watching the webinar, could you please participate in the poll so we have an understanding of where you are. Okay. I think I'll end the poll here. So we'll have results. So you can see the results. The question was, which of the following best describes your company, what stage you are? The first one is awareness stage. The other is assessment stage, strategy stage, reporting stage, outsourced, managed stage. So 78% of the people are saying they're at awareness stage. So as you said, Alex, there's a chaos. Most of the people are just trying to get a quick understanding of what it looks like, learning about the regulations, and not quite much in the implementation or making certain changes that are necessary. Then there are, I think, 11% people said that they are at an assessment stage, and 6% at strategy stage, while 1% at outsourced managed stage. Okay. So outsourcing is one of the options that the companies would like to opt. Immediate and quick way of doing things could be one of the solutions. I mean, outsourcing your requirements, services to a consultant who is there, who understands things, is a good way. But my view is, and the reasons that we do these programs is for companies to be able to do it themselves rather than, depending on other solutions, implementing the solutions within the organization. So that's just about it. I think that's all from my side. And so Alex, if you could start sharing and start from a brief introduction about yourself, and then we'll quickly go to your presentation.
All right. Thanks very much, Sana, and thanks very much to all the assistants. Good afternoon or good morning, depending where you are. I'm just going to share my screen. Hold on a minute. Yeah, this one, sharing. Just please tell me if you're watching the, yeah? You seeing
it's there, yeah.
The presentation. Okay. So, well, I'm just trying to do my best for you to understand what exactly is this carbon border adjustment mechanism of the European Union. And we will review all the things that all the aspects of these mechanisms that Sana has told you. The Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism is an European Union policy tool designed to put a fair price on the carbon emitted during the production of carbon-intensive products. We will see later what these products are, imported into the European Union. So basically, it's a responsibility of the agents importing products in the European Union. The matter is that these products, which are designed, or these mechanisms designed to prevent carbon leakage, and carbon leakage is because we have a very strict climate policy in the European Union. We have to pay for the right to emit CO2, carbon dioxide, gases to the atmosphere. And therefore, it is a disadvantage for the manufacturers within the European Union because it's a higher price, it's a higher cost to produce. So what this mechanism tries to prevent is manufacturers in the European Union going outside the European Union, where these climate policies don't apply, to get a fair competitive advantages, right? So, yes, let me go to the next slide. No, I'm just missing my. Okay, there you are. So the question here goes, as I've said, a non-European Union supplier, not based in the European Union, it is bringing their products to the European Union, certain products. So in the border, the agent which is importing those products in the European Union has to buy. So this is where the first cost or prices appears, to buy a certificate for each ton of CO2 that the product is coming with to the European Union, right? This is the concept of the mechanism. Which products are in game? Cement, aluminium, steel, iron and steel, hydrogen, electricity, and fertilizers. So if you export one of any of these products to the European Union, you are subject to the carbon border mechanism. The question is, or the difficulty, the first difficulty, and I've seen some of the other people answering in the poll that they don't know how to start to calculate the embedded emission, is that you don't only have to focus on your product, but also in the emissions associated to the raw materials that you are using in your country to manufacture your products, right? So the European Union has stated that all the products listed in a, I'm just going to show you the list for you. This is the list. I will copy this this list in the chat. Just let me know how to do it. Chat. Participants.
Basically,
I can't
Alex, you
find it
can click
now.
more. Yeah. You can click more and put it in the chat.
Yeah, but we will produce this, or if you can probably just take a screen shot of this URL. This is the list of all the codes. So this important is these codes on all the list. So it's iron, steel, aluminium, fertilizers, energy, electricity, and hydrogen. Those are the only plain codes. The first one, so it's hydrogen, electrical, energy, and we started with cement and fertilizers and so on, right? So this list will be shared with you. So I don't know. What were you? No, you were not sharing the. You didn't see the list, but this is an example. If you manufacturing, for instance, no, steel or pipes made out of steel, then your code is 7212, then you will have your subject. If you export those pipes to the European Union, you will have to facilitate the emissions embedded in your product, right? So the list of CN codes will be shared with you. What is the implementation road of this? We've been testing the system for a while, for a couple of years, the 325, and last year was the definitive. It was initially was 1 year ahead, but then in May last year, the European Council approved what is called the omnibus package, and that omnibus package has delayed all the calendar of the implementation for 1 year. So right now, since January this year to December, we shall be measuring the emissions associated to our products, and uh, those reporting the emissions to the agent who has imported your product into the European Union will have to buy as many certificates as tones you have declared your product is coming with. And you will have to do that. There's a transitional period up to 2031. But in 2034, when it's with the free allowances, this is only affecting the price, not the mechanism, but the price the importer in the European Union has to pay for a certificate, for a CBAM certificate. That will be fully coverage in 2034. So on prices, the mechanism is not entering, or your certificates, they are not entering in the market of the European Union. In the market saying, I'm selling this, you buying this, we can arrange and agree to put a price on that. No, the mechanism is going to be multiplying the price of the free trade market of emissions in the European Union. Here you have an example of which has been the evolution of the prices since 2010. The system started in 2008, and the European Union. What it is here saying is we have the EUA, which stands for European Union Allowance, which is the right to emit 1 ton of CO2 to the atmosphere. Right. Next, how is the CBAM cost calculated? By multiplying embedded emissions of the product entering in our border times the European ETS price, which is a price with the market of allowances in the European Union, minus carbon price paid locally. So if in your country is there any system like it happens, I don't know, in Japan, it happens in Korea, it happens in Australia, California, some part of the United States, Canada. So if in the country that you're manufacturing, there is, you pay for carbon, you pay a price for the carbon, then it will be deducted of the CBAM cost. How are embedded emissions calculated? Well, I'll go a little bit further in this before that. On prices, in 2026, the EU ETS free allowances will be declining. These are the number of for the system to work. Well, it's a little bit complicated, but just get into account that for the system to be in place, the European Union had at the beginning of the system had to donate for free some allowances to some special companies, but particularly companies who have that leakage risk of going away from the European Union to produce. So, and they are just giving away to them for free those allowances. But that system is going to end up, as I've said, in 2034. So what is expected is that the price of the European Union, the price we had in the previous formula, right? This price, the UETS price, will be higher as the allowances, the free allowances disappear. So the CBAM cost for importers are going to be every time are going to be higher. What to monitor? That may worry some of you in the audience. Well, step one is to define installations boundaries. We're going to see not all the basic is to calculate your CO2 emissions, right? And but the first thing is to set your boundaries. It may happen that your company is not owned 100% by you. But we're going to dive into boundaries right now. Second step is define a reporting period, which is easy because the first year you have to report is the 2026 complete, so the January 2026 to December 2026. That's the first, and it's going to be calculated by natural years since then. Identify which parameters you need to calculate and determine the methodology to monitor those parameters. So next is what are boundaries? Boundaries, as I've said, is that, for instance, there may be a company which is based in the European Union, except one of them, say NATSEM, for instance. So we only have to report for NATSEM. So the first thing is saying my company is owned by some other companies, or the parent company. So we have to set very clear which is our boundaries. Reporting periods, I've said, is 1 natural year. First one would be 2026. An example of this that we've seen, they see in code. Identify parameters. Identifying the production routes, because your emissions appear when A, you are burning fossil fuels. If you are producing cement, it comes with clinker. If you're producing steel, it comes with the electricity. If your arc, you have an electric furnace or natural gas. So the production routes have to be identified. Normally, that's done in every single factory and every installation. Calculate direct emissions, which are the emissions we are responsible for, meaning that we are burning, basically we are burning fossil fuels, and as a result of that burning, it appears water and CO2. So that CO2, this carbon dioxide, it is we will have to measure. Indirect emissions is all the emissions associated to the electricity that we are using to produce our products in our country, right? And it could be different cases if electricity comes from the grid, or if electricity is generated in-house, or if electricity is acquired to a specific installation that may be more renewable or less renewable or whatever. Those emissions are indirectly associated to us, and it's called In calculation, this is called scope 2. And then embedded emissions. So this is probably the most complicated part of CBAM. That is, my emissions are not only my direct and indirect emissions, but also the emissions associated to the production of raw materials that I'm using in my installation, right? So I will have just to deal with only the relevant precursors, for instance, was iron, manganese, chromium, or calcite, or sand, or whatever I'm using as raw materials, a feedstock for my products. I have to set or identify the quantities of those, and if the precursors are made in our very installation or they are acquired in the market, in the global market, right? This is just to show you the identification of the route, production route in iron. It could be different systems of production. You have the blast furnace. You could use coal as a reduction agent, or you could use more quantity of scrap, or use only electricity to heat up the furnace, etc. And then you have, well, but this is the list of the routes that you have. These are, sorry, it's in Spanish. I couldn't find it in English. These are this is the roadmap of the European Union to transform the industry of steel in the European Union. So our goal is using hydrogen, green hydrogen, instead of coal as a reduction agent, or electricity coming from renewables in through the electric furnace via or route map. Then just this is a clarification. We want to know not only the carbon dioxide emitted by your factory, but also N2O is nitrous oxide, or methane, or other gases. There are 7 gases that may appear in the manufacturing of a product. So these gases stay for different time lengths in the atmosphere. So the more they stayed unaltered in the European, the more they contribute to the global warming, and so they have a higher value than CO2. But those are called the global warming potential. Global warming potential are always referred to carbon dioxide equivalent. So refrigeration gases, fluoride gases, etc. There are altogether 7 gases. So what do we have to do? What will be our obligations if we are exporting to the European Union? Well, first of all, designate a team leader has to understand perfectly what the mechanism is about, what collecting or producing an inventory of GHG emissions to the atmosphere is critical. So that person may have a deep understanding of that. That's what we said at the beginning, Sana, that perhaps the initial steps could be really helped by some external consultant or something. You have to, each product, for each CN code, you have to assign the route to produce that item, then calculate direct and indirect emissions, identify the embedded emissions on your precursors, fill in a template, which is already published in the European Union in the website, and produce a report. So these are the monitoring steps, or the first step. So the agent importing your product in the European Union will ask you for a report of how many tons of CO2 equivalent did your product emitted along the 2026 year. With that report, the agent will go to the offices in the European Union and say, okay, in 2026, I imported, say, 200 tons of steel that produce 1,000 tons of CO2. So I have to go to the window in the European Union and say I have to pay, or I got to pay 1,000 times the price of the UET's price, which is say 60. Then I have to pay 60,000 tons and render those certificates to the European Union. So paying that price. What that's involved to your companies is that your product is going, or this is acting as a sort of, the European Union doesn't like the word, but it's acting as a tariff for your product to enter the European Union. So, and then you will have to have competitive advantage. So meaning that you have to provide that information, that report, because otherwise the agent importing your product will be obliged to count on other agent in your country or in somewhere else in the world. Okay, so the first step is implement the robust MRV monitoring, reporting, and verification systems aligned with European standards. Second step, invest in low carbon technology. So you want to be competitive. This is the final goal of the policy, is to make everyone greener, or at least everyone who is dealing with the European Union greener, to follow our commitments, global commitments on climate policies. And another thing that you could do is, once you have calculated your emission, your values, your emissions, then reevaluate the supply chains just to see if you can find purveyors or suppliers that have less carbon footprint, less emissions level in their material they're wearing. So this is the final message in CBAM. Well, green is the new cheap. So exporters who decarbonize fastest will capture the market share, left behind by high polluting competitors who can no longer afford the carbon border. I think on my side, this is it, Sana. I have this. This is a focus that. What is my impression of my in all my experience with what I find out, that Asia is sort of charged with high carbon intensity power grids. So those products manufactured with lots of electricity may suffer by comparison. Middle East focus are more natural gas, and natural gas is less than coal in electricity production or generation. It is still is a disadvantage as well. And Article 9, finally, if your country is thinking in or planning in implementing one of these carbon adjustments policies, then you probably have to, you'll be competitive advantage, because that will be release this tariff in your exports. So my side, if you just want to question anything, I'll be.
I think we should be taking questions from now. Thank you, Alex. This was quite insightful. Before we conclude, I think we should be taking some questions. We already have a few. So to answer concerns or to help others, we're looking for it. Sorry, I had a call. So to answer all your questions, we are open right now. And so we had one question during the session that I already answered.
So I read it. Will CBAM make imports from developing countries more expensive for EU buyers?
Yeah.
And could that reduce demand for those exports? Definitely yes. The answer is yes. How to make it work? it is the less carbon dioxide embedded in your product, the better. That will be so. It's a sort of tariff which can be suppressed by your green behavior in the world. How should importers handle situations where actual emissions data? Oh, I missed it, that one. Situation where actual emissions data from third countries producers is unavailable. Well, it is definitely the actual emissions in your country are available. All countries are reporting emissions to the IPCC, which is the international, all countries who signed the Paris Agreement. Understood. So it's not North Korea is not included. Venezuela is not included. There's some other 2 or 3 countries more, but the rest of the countries, they are all of them calculating their emissions, particularly in electricity generation. So what you have to do is just to know how much electricity you're producing or you're using to produce 1 ton of your product.
We have another question.
Most small and medium export in developing countries have never heard of CBAM. I'm pretty sure of that. You're absolutely right. Whose responsibility is to inform and prepare them, and should be what should be the initial steps. The initial steps are included in the presentation. I think some other presentation could be shared, or this webinar is going to be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. But their responsibility is of the agent importing your product into the European Union. It's his responsibility. So to fill in or to comply with that responsibility, he's going to demand you what are your emissions. If you cannot provide that data, the agent probably would choose another agent or another supplier. So my recommendation is that the quicker that you start putting this step or following these steps that I mentioned in the presentation, the better, because that will avoid the competitors who are calculating the carbon footprint being replaced by your product.
So Alex, sorry,
yeah.
Alex, I'd like you to actually clarify one thing. By agent, you mean the importing company or the importer, right?
Importing company in the European Union. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm exporting aluminum to another company in the European Union from, say, Middle East,
there must be an agent who is importing your product.
Yeah. So some
it's
company
his
is importing.
responsibility. Yeah.
So it's
but
his
the only
responsibility.
the only way his responsibility to be complied with is by demanding the supplier the carbon footprint.
Yeah. So and so that person or that company who needs your product will make sure that you have the related information report or data that he can.
You have that report in place and in time.
Yeah.
Right? For him to go to the European window and buy as many certificates as necessary. Now that authorized declarant status became mandatory, what is the plan B for importers whose non-EU suppliers are still failing to provide verified actual data before the first 2027 surrender deadline? There's no plan B, I'm afraid. There's no plan B. The only plan B could be to pay for the maximum. So just to declare, if you cannot calculate your emissions, right, your actual emissions, then the European Union will apply what is called a default emission factor. And believe me, the default emission factor for the agent importing your product is going to be much, much higher than your real emissions. So this is a sort of penalty on that in the emission factor. So say, I don't know, that your company is producing aluminium alloys, and each ton comes with your data comes with 6 tons of CO2 equivalent. If you don't provide that report, then you will be applied at 12, which is the worst case the European Union knows for that. So the agent, if they don't have actual your real data, they will have to be to apply the default European Union emission factors, which punishes a lot the prices. More which industry will have CBAM mandatory to be implemented for their survival? Well, it's a very good question. All companies exporting more than 50 tons to the European Union to the same agent, right? This is important, to the same agent, will have to provide the data. So it's mandatory if you are exporting to one agent more than 50 tons. If you are only, if your survival is, I don't know, 1,000 tons to that agent or to each agent, then definitely, if you want to survive, you want to continue exporting to the European Union, then either you reduce either you put in place the calculation system of your embedded emissions, or you're out of the game, I'm afraid. I would like to understand the practical mechanism. Will the extra cost of CBAM compliance fall on the exporter or the European Union importer? And how business currently handling this negotiation? Is there any criteria? Well, the criteria is the price, definitely. I put an example on the webinar. If I'm importing 200 tons of steel, and I have to pay 1,000 €1,000 in certificates for your product. If nearby, but you don't give me that information, if nearby there's a competitor that it does give me, it is a little bit higher in price, but it gives me the information I need, then I will probably choose the second supplier and replace the supply chains with you. How can we prepare for reporting if our country has no accurate data for calculations? Are assumptions going to be accepted? Yes. The first year, there's a transition period. The first 2 years, they don't need accurate data for calculations. You could use the default values without penalty. It's a little bit complex. There's some exceptions, and so it's a little bit longer, the explanation, but I'm sure EdWatch is ready to supply near quite soon a full course on course on CBAM. Where you can Is there a verification system for the data? Yes, it is. The first year you will have to ask for a verification body to come along to your factory. The first it just published last month. The first year you have to be present in site verification. The rest of the years or the following years could be online, but the first year you have to call a verifier, pay for them, obviously, and who verifies that report you're saying all the emissions that you're saying are correct.
Alex, I just want to stop you here. I want to ask you something from this, which is very relevant to the last two questions you've answered.
Yeah.
So the mechanism for emission calculation is basically the GHG protocol that they'll be using, but the underlying data, if that's not available, like the one I asked you, if you don't have actual data available, can we use assumptions? Means assumptions in terms of an estimate, right? So that's workable, right? But if you have a system where you input data, you establish a system, it would take some time. But for your long-term survival, from your progress, not just survival, if you implement a system which actually records your input and calculates it and provides you data, your data recording, reporting, plus verification would become simplified, would become easier, right? I just want
Absolutely,
your comment on that.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, yeah. In the market. There are quite a number of platforms that capture your data in your organization somehow or another, but they just capture your data and produce the emissions report automatically.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
some of them are very complicated. Some of them are simpler, but most of them are compare or are subject to standards of reporting, basically ISO 1464 or
Yeah.
1467, which are carbon footprint or inventory emissions, GHG inventory emissions inventory in an organization. And then when the verifier comes, instead of staying with you in the factory for 5 days, which is it's more costly, it stays one day and you see the report, see the platform. We have to choose the right platform or the right software to do that. Yeah, but definitely it is. What are the kind of audits applied on the importer reporting? On the importer, they have to just bring to comply to be able to acquire CBAM certificates. You have to provide the verified report of your supplier when entering the European Union. So the audit is not into the agent importing, but the audit is in the manufacturer, in the installation. I mean the exporter. Okay. How does the European Union intend to reinvest CBAM revenues for low and middle income countries to ensure that isn't seen as a purely protectionist trade barrier? That unfortunately I cannot answer that. There's been many rumors and gossips and that, but I wouldn't say an answer because I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The carbon footprint to consider in the certificate is the exported product CPF or includes the entire exporters organization or CFP, only the products. So it's not the organization, but obviously to produce the carbon footprint of your product, you need to know the carbon footprint of your organization, but you don't have to report specifically on it. For my country, the protocol emission data is not available. Then we'll have to use default values stated in the European Union guidance. Who can be
So,
a verifier in CBAM? A verified being
sorry,
accepted.
Alex, just to
We are
answer,
in the process. Sorry.
yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
just to
I
add to
answered
what you
the last.
said, yeah. If that
Yeah,
GHG emission data is not available, then there are certain average data available. That's what I wanted to
yeah, but
add.
they are the worst. That's the thing. That's the
Yeah,
thing is that it is more expensive to pay for the importer, right? To pay by default values, emission factors, than calculating the actual values of an installation by far.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why the prices or the mechanism is applied for the people to actually calculate their own emissions. And finally, who can be a verifier in CBAM? Have a verifier been accepted by the European Authority? Not yet. We are in the process. In July is ending this process of registering or being accredited by the European Union to audit installations outside the European Union. That will be completed in July, and probably in August, September, we'll have a list of all the agents who have been accredited to verify, to audit installation. Who can be a verifier in CBAM? Have verified been accepted by the European Authority? I think, well, this is the one. Which are one of the conditions to be a verifier for CBAM is that you have experience in verifying the carbon emissions in the European Trading Scheme, so in the UETS. So probably that's excluding. So normally it's are going to be large organizations like Bureau Veritas or SGS. Japan also has, I know the Spanish one, Lloyd's probably as well. So the large companies, DNV, which is very active in carbon, DNV, which is Danish, can't remember what is it, but DNV is a very large company. So,
SGS is there. SGS.
yeah. So there's no more questions. Well, Sana, I just give you the floor for to end up the.
Thank you, Alex. It was quite an insightful session. But before we conclude, I'll just share a poll, the last poll we'd like to understand from the uh, participants about their experience. Would they like to go into much more detail? Vakar, if you could share the poll, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So it's here. So we'd like to understand how would you like to move forward in strengthening your CBAM readiness? Would you like to have a deep dive training, strategic consultancy, software tools, and if you're okay with the webinar. Okay, so we'll just quickly give 1 minute for the poll. And I think most of the participants must have left by now. Okay. I'd really appreciate if you have joined the session and you could, participate through the poll. That will help us in our future, webinars and trainings. Okay. So I think we'll end here. So thank you very much for joining, everyone. Thank you, Alex, for an amazing session. It was super informative. You covered it pretty quickly, but you just shared the gist of it. You've covered the gist of it, and I'm really glad that we had quite a handful of questions that you could answer, and I hope that it went well, and we could help with the queries, with the awareness requirements of the people. And again, there was this one question, and I'd like to clarify here before we conclude, is that the video is going to be circulated among the participants, even the ones who registered and who couldn't join. And it will be available on our YouTube channel. So whoever would like to have a quick understanding of what it is about, how it works, they can anytime go and view it. So thank you very much, Alex.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon, right?
Yeah.
Take care. Take care.
Thanks very much, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.